During reentry, your client's schedule might be the busiest it's ever been between appointments with caseworkers, interviews, healthcare, and other appointments. Your client must keep track of their plan to not miss the required meetings. Knowing all available resources that can help meet these requirements is essential to keep track of. The document checklist on page 53 is important to review with your client. It will give them the opportunity to identify what official documentation they have and what they need. It will also give you a chance to connect them to resources to obtain any missing documentation. Assist clients by making copies of all documents so they have backup copies in case they're misplaced. The Personal Resources Worksheet on page 54 is a place to keep all contact information for those positive influences that we identified earlier in the workbook. This is not limited to friends and family. Their personal resources may include sponsors, educators, or others that are supportive of their reentry. Professional resources on page 56 includes, but is not limited to, current employers and past employers that can be used for references. This is also an area to keep track of potential employers, programs that offer career services, programs that provide free dry cleaning or professional clothing, and other community programs that provide services such as computer classes or free internet access. Housing resources on page 58 should include local shelters, halfway houses, transitional living programs, organizations that offer housing or rent assistance, and contact information for family or friends that could provide an immediate safe shelter if needed. Having contact information for medical resources is more than just knowing where the local hospital is. Page 60 offers clients a space to collect information on all medical professionals they will see after release. If possible, include the contact information for their medical insurance as well. Including the closest hospital and closest urgent care to where they'll be living can help your client feel secure in knowing where to go in case of an emergency. On page 62, criminal justice resources should include all information about parole, probation, case managers, social workers, lawyers, bond agents, and any rehabilitative programs within the community that the client may need to contact. Community resources on page 64 is a bit of a miscellaneous page. Returning citizens may wish to list the closest support group meetings, public and low-cost transportation resources, and other financial assistance programs. The day of release worksheet on page 67 gets clients prepping for the logistics of their official release day. This is often very stressful for clients to figure out. As they begin to plan for where they're going and how they're getting there, release starts to feel like a reality. While release is really exciting, not all of our clients are done fulfilling their criminal justice obligations when they leave the facility. Depending on the length of time they've been incarcerated and the information they've been given, they may not be clear on what those obligations are. Work with clients to identify and record on page 68 any community supervision, conditions, fees, community service, or other sanctions that they may be responsible for completing. Returning citizens are often aware that their circumstances will change rapidly upon release. Where they're going and what they're doing for the first several days or weeks may be temporary, and more permanent solutions are planned for the future. The 3 months post-release workbook page on 69 affords clients the space to record those next steps after their first steps. The reentry process is full of appointments. The appointment log on page 70 is there to act as a calendar for all appointments, including legal, medical, mental health, social services, and interviews. Making note of transportation options to appointments can help to avoid missing or arriving late to an appointment. The medication log on page 72 is there for your client to take to medical or mental health appointments and to share with other professionals who need this knowledge. It's also helpful for clients to simply keep track of their own medication and dosing, because this is the first time in a while that your client will be in charge of their own medication. During incarceration, physical and mental health medications are very controlled, so making note of the purpose of the medication, side effects, as well as how and when to take it can help your client and their providers keep them healthy. Finding safe and affordable housing can be a challenge for anyone. Add in a criminal record and financial struggles, and it can be nearly impossible. And unfortunately, it can sometimes make housing unreliable or unsafe. For many, that means finding housing with a roommate. And disagreements with a roommate can quickly lead to a loss of housing. The housing agreement on page 74 exists to help prevent that. Working as a contract, the agreement addresses many of the issues that arise between cohabitants and opens up communication on issues before they can become a problem. The more detailed and specific responses can be, the less problems down the road. And don't forget, it may need to be updated over time as circumstances change. The national hotlines and resources listed on page 79 are free for clients to use. If your client has a specific need that isn't on this list, try to help them find a resource that could assist them. It's important to remind your client that calls and internet searches for these hotlines will remain in their call log and browser history, so they need to be aware of that and clear it when their safety and privacy is an issue. The note sheets on page 80 allow for extra space to add anything the client's keeping track of, questions they may have, or an area simply to write their thoughts.